Pro Grade Media.
You're now listening to The Straight Shooter Show with your host, The Straight Shooter.
So you learn something new every day if you pay attention. I was trying to get ready this week for the monologue, and I was looking through Instagram, and I came across this girl's post, Amanda, one of my followers, and I follow her back. It says, "My story is filled with broken pieces, terrible choices, and ugly truths. It's also filled with a major comeback, peace in my soul, and a grace that saved my life." And I thought I would start this first episode off monologue with a lot more personal information about me and my life and why we're here, why I'm even doing this podcast, why I started TikTok in the first place. So when I say that if you pay attention, you learn something every day, I was a slow learner. I made a lot of mistakes growing up and lived a pretty wild life through my teens into my 20s. And when I married my first wife, it was primarily she had a young daughter that didn't have a dad, and I felt like she needed a dad. So I married her primarily to be dad. Not that we didn't have fun together and, we enjoyed each other's company, but ultimately it really was a toxic marriage. And I didn't really think about our marriage long term so much. I just felt like I wanted to be a family man, and here's a built-in family. So I was young and I made that choice. It was a bad choice, but that's the choice I made. At the end of our marriage, we weren't even divorced yet, but we'd split up and going for divorce. And I met this woman out alley-catting around, and she got pregnant. She got pregnant probably the first time that I was with her. That's where my son came from. And so what do? Do you get married? Do you be a weekend dad? There's no way I wanted to be a weekend dad. So I married the woman, and I tried the best that I could, but sometimes things just don't work out. But I knew I wanted to be a full-time dad. And so that was mistake number 2, marrying somebody that, I really hadn't considered who they are, what marriage would look like with that person. It was family. I wanted to be a family man, and so I made that choice. And I ended up divorcing her. It just was not a good marriage. Married my third wife, moving her 2 hours from her existence, from her only thing she had ever known. And when I moved her down here to where I live, I did not consider how much she would miss her family and her hometown and her kids and her grandkids. I mean, there was a lot of things to consider. But plus, she had come from a different life than I had. I mean, she'd been raised different in a very, very small town out in the middle of nowhere. I was raised in a suburb close to the city. It's just two totally different lifestyles. The point that I'm making with all of this personal background information for me is that you learn something new if you pay attention. I didn't pay attention. And so that's why I started doing the TikToks, because as I got older, I was able to look back at the mistakes that I made. I paid attention after the fact. And, I didn't want my son to make the same mistakes that I had made. And so that's why I started talking to him so young about all these mistakes that I'd made, choices I had made without a lot of thought behind my choices. And it's really worked out for him to be a better individual, be a more thoughtful, thought-provoking person. And so when I started the TikTok, that was it. That was it. I wanted to give you the same information that I gave my son, so that maybe you can learn by paying attention to my mistakes, that you don't make the same mistakes. And now here we are doing a podcast. So many of you wanted a longer form, more in-depth discussion. And I really plan on this being something that you can laugh about. You're probably going to have some tears at times, be entertaining, but most importantly, that you'll be able to learn something, whether it's something I say or something that one of my guests that I talk to on the phone say, will help you through your situation. So this podcast, so you know, is all for you. It is for you so that you can learn something if you pay attention. All right, episode 1, we finally made it. Here we are doing it, and we do have a few announcements that we want to make. If you're on YouTube or TikTok, in my bio, there's information where you can go to my merch store. I've got some shirts and hats and coffee mugs and all that kinds of stuff that you can check out. Hope that you are following me on all those platforms. Sometimes I make announcements on Instagram and Facebook that you're not going to get on TikTok or right here on the podcast. So follow me on all those platforms if you don't want to miss something. And we're really looking forward to the show. Okay, Zach, so what else we got going on?
Oh, I wanted to remind people that if you're submitting emails, email the show, thestraightshootershow@gmail.com. We wanted to say this, that if you are submitting emails for us if you're wanting to talk to Jason directly on the phone, we want you to start being more descriptive. The whole idea is for Jason to be able to help you with your problems. And so we want you to describe what your problem is a little more. We're getting tons of emails where people are just saying, hey, I'd like to talk to Jason. And then that's it. So we want you to be more descriptive, describe exactly what you're going through, very detailed. That way he can have a good idea of what he's getting into before he talks to you. So, but we do appreciate all the emails that we're getting. We're getting lots of submissions, and dude, it's overwhelming, and we're really enjoying it. And Jason's super excited to talk to each and every one of you. We just need a little more information to go on. So
absolutely,
that's all we need. And I also wanted to encourage you to, if you had a question for him that you just want him to answer in the beginning part of the show, send a video in. Send a video of you asking that question, and we will put the video, we'll feature your video on the show, or just your email. That works too. Or just an audio question. If you wanted to send in an audio question, we'll feature that on the show. Any way you want to ask the question, and just leave your name, and then we'll pop it on there. So thank you everybody for interacting, and we're looking forward to it. So
absolutely.
Are you ready we got an actual email submission this week. Do you want to? His name's Matt Mills. You may recognize him from TikTok. I don't know. I've
seen his name on some comments. Yeah, several comments.
His TikTok is mills.matt93.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. He says, I have a couple questions I need your help on. Matt Mills says, I have a couple questions I need your help on. Number 1 is, if my wife gets mad at me because I'm super quiet and never have anything to talk about besides our daughter and work, how can I go about fixing that? How do I think of topics to talk about? The second question is, how do I go about being more outgoing and not shy to other people than friends and family? I used to be more talkative, but in my teen adult years, I've grown more and more quiet and not liking of most people. Finally, some tips to spice up a relationship anyway. Make her believe I still love her besides telling her I love her. I'm not creative, so I definitely need an outsider's advice. And then he says, love you, man, and so happy to hear you have a show. Can't wait to hear it. You have a good day. Matthew Mills.
Well, one thing you can do is, certainly ask her about her day and what she had going on. And then when she gives you some information about her day or whatever's going on in her life, pay attention to what she's saying. And you can build off of that, off of whatever it is that she had going on. If she went to the store, she has a complaint, about something that happened, or, if she works and she talks about her work day or her family, you can build off of, ask her more questions based on the things that she's already told you. So that should be a pretty easy fix. If you just pay attention to what she's telling you, you ought to be able to build off of each thing that she says with more questions.
Yep, I totally agree with that. Number 2 is, how do I go about being more outgoing and not shy to other people other than friends and family? I used to be more talkative, but in my teen adult years, I've grown more and more quiet and not liking of most people.
I think that is a common occurrence among a lot of people. Even in my older age, I have found myself, you can kind of determine how somebody is pretty quickly. What their personality is, if it's somebody you really want to spend any time talking to. So, maybe it's not such a terrible thing. You do want to be outgoing and have confidence in yourself, but you don't need to necessarily have ongoing conversations with everybody that you come across, because some people, they're just going to take up your time. It's not somebody that you're going to want to associate with. And so I wouldn't put a whole lot of time and effort into that. If the person that you're trying to carry on conversation with isn't going the same direction or the same values that you do or the same, mindset. I wouldn't even say mindset, because it's good to have conversation with people that think a little differently, but it's okay to be selective about who you're outgoing with. So I wouldn't stress too much about that. But as far as being confident, you just need to tell yourself every day, if you're having an issue with just confidence in general, you need to tell yourself every morning when you brush your teeth, man, you're a great person. You're a great guy. You have a lot to offer this world. And you need to tell yourself that every single morning. And the more you tell yourself, the more you'll believe it. Your confidence will come out of you. I mean, I'll almost guarantee you that.
Yeah, I actually agree with that, because I only have like 2 friends.
Right.
I only have a couple of friends. I mean, I have more than 2 friends. I consider you a friend, Steven, and then I have like one other friend. But if you go out and you meet 5 people right now and you start a relationship with those 5 people today,
right,
4 of them are going to screw you over.
It could happen, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't meet many genuine people. Like, it's not very often you're going to meet someone that you can actually trust. I mean, you've got to ask yourself, where is this not outgoingness coming from? Is it coming from lack of trust of these people? Then you're probably right, I'm
fortunate that I probably have 10 to 12 people that I can call genuine friends. But when it comes to meeting somebody new, in fact, one of my best friends, I'll tell you, when I met him, I'd only known him that we were camping, and I've been friends with him for like 4 years now. And we were camping, and after an evening of hanging out and eating, and it was the first day I met him, he's like, you seem like a really cool guy. I think, we ought to get together and hang out more often. And I was like, look, I'm just going to be straightforward with you. I'm all for new friends, but I'm not chasing friendships. So, and I'd been drinking, so I was like, I'll give you a trial basis, okay?
Yeah, you
I
get
said,
a 7-day trial period.
If you want to hang out with me and be my friend, it's going to take some work and some effort on your part. If I'm calling you and you're never calling me, it's over. I mean, if you don't make an effort to include me in your life as a friend, if you're not there, for the most part, when I need you, like I'm going to be for you, if you need me, it's over. So I'm just telling you right up from the start, let's not even get this friendship started if you're not really ready to be a friend. And we've been great friends since.
No shit. You really earned your name, The Straight Shooter.
Absolutely.
Not many people would just go out and tell somebody that. But yeah, you. That's why they call you The Straight Shooter, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had the third one. He says, finally, some tips to spice up a relationship in any way. Make her believe I still love her besides telling her I love her. I'm not creative, so I definitely need an outsider's advice.
I've done videos on this for, kind of spicing things up when things start to, I don't know how long you've been with your wife. A lot of times that 7-year itch is a real deal. People... you feel like you know your spouse, you know everything about them. You don't really need to talk to them about anything anymore. They feel that way about you. And it's just kind of the honeymoon phase is fading. And you're like, okay, well, here we are. I mean, I know I've told people you do want to think of new activities, things that there's 2 ways to go about this. You can either think about the beginning, things that y'all did in the beginning, and try to take yourselves back to some of the things that y'all were doing or talking about, games you played, places you went. That brings you back to when things were new, and it kind of, rekindles things. Or the second thing you can do is you can come up with brand new things. Maybe y'all don't ever go bowling, or maybe y'all don't ever go on walks together, or any number of things that you could go do together that is something new that you've never done before. And especially if it's your idea, like, hey, babe, after dinner, let's go for a walk. Just go walk and hold hands and ask her about her day. Like, she wants you to talk to her about more things. Anything that you can do that's new. In every marriage, every relationship that I've been in, especially my most recent, I swear to God, I would wake up every day, and while I was getting ready for work, I would be thinking, what can I do for her today that's going to make her have a great day every day? And when I left the house, my main goal was to get back home to her in the afternoon or in the evening to show her whatever I came up with that day, or, I would bring up a mini vacation we were going to go on, or we camped a lot, and we would be talking about, okay, well, we're going camping this weekend. This is what we're going to do. We were always busy talking to each other about what we're going to do tonight, what we're going to do this weekend, what we're going to do next month, and planning for, okay, well, we're going to save this much money because we're going on this vacation in 6 months. So we would talk about that vacation for 6 months leading up to, because it builds anticipation for the vacation. It is exciting thinking about 6 months out, 5 months out, 4 months out. We're almost there.
Yeah.
We're going on vacation. Yep. So if you talk about those things regularly, you can't go on vacation every week or every month.
Yeah, seriously. So start focusing on what you can do to spice it up, because it's different in every case. Really nobody can answer that question besides him. What does his wife like? What does she like? And spend some time. My favorite advice that you gave to him was start listening to her a little more.
Right.
And then start acting on that. Because that's my problem too, is I think I would be the most innovative and best husband in the world if I just thought of these things, and then I see somebody else do something and I'm like, man, if I would have thought to do that, or something, or something that's already passed,
right?
Like a situation that's already passed, and I'm like, man, if I would have thought, that would have been so sweet. But I'm just not good at thinking of things to do at the time.
Can she be happy?
You're gonna have to answer that question too, Matt. Is if what Steven is, which is if we haven't said, Steven's the co-founder of Broke Ride Media. Steven said that if she's even able to be happy. So you're gonna have to ask yourself that question: is if you make all these changes to make her happy and she's still not happy, what do what's the next step? And I don't know what's the answer to that, Jason. What if he does all these things you're saying, and he puts all this advice in action, and she's still not happy? What does he do then?
He's going to have to talk to her about, I've done these things that you've asked me to do, and you were still upset with me. And so why don't we work on give me some specifics on what's going to make you happy for you without me, doing it. What is going to make you happy with yourself? What's going to make you happy with your life the way it is right now? And then anything I can do to complement that, I'm happy to do. I'm your husband. I love you. But I've done all the things you've already asked me to do, and I am really putting forth the effort, and you're still not happy with me. So
yeah,
she's going to have to answer that question at that point.
Yeah, it's going to be up to her.
She may have to do some soul searching,
Yeah.
And it has to be a calm, it can't be, you can't go at her with this. It has to be a calm conversation that, look, I'm understanding of, you're upset, you're not happy. I want to help you make happy, but I can't make you happy because I've been trying and it's not working.
Yeah. Marriage is hard.
It is.
Marriage is very hard.
Can be very hard.
Yeah. Even if it's not hard, it's work. Me and my wife are the perfect match that you can see. You can ask Steven. We are a perfect match, but we still have things that we have to work on constantly, or it's not going to work.
If both people in that marriage are not working together to make it a happy home, it's so much more work. It's so much more work for the person that is trying to make the other person happy, because you just can't. You can't make that person happy if they're not working toward the happy home.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that the last question from him?
Yes.
Okay.
That was it. So thank you, Matt, for submitting that, and hope we answered your questions. If you have any questions, you can also comment on the YouTube as well. We would like for you to comment on the YouTube to tell us what you think about that. Even if you're listening to this and you have something to add to that advice, comment on the YouTube and tell us what you think. It may be something that we didn't think of.
Or if you know somebody in the same situation, share this podcast video with them. It might be insightful for them. Maybe they'll hear something that will help their situation.
Okay, next up is Gage. Gage is the Straight Shooter Show's first telephone guest. He is a 17-year-old young man that had a suicide attempt. He's not only coming on the show to get advice from the straight shooter, but he's also wanting to give advice to kids that are going through the same thing that he is in their head, struggling with mental health issues, that might be thinking of doing this same thing. He's not wanting them to do it because he said if it would have happened, it would have been a big mistake. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Gage and let him talk to the straight shooter. Hello, Gage.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hey, Gage, it's really good to talk to you. I appreciate you coming on the show to try to share your experiences and spread the message that you have. Tell me again, how old are you?
I'm 17.
17.
Yes, sir.
And so you had a suicide attempt. How long ago was that?
It was on November 28th.
November
28th. Yes, sir. It's been a couple months now.
Are we at November 28th?
Wait, no. September 28th. I'm sorry.
September.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. And so tell me, how long were you feeling like that was what the answer was before your attempt?
Well, the problems, the depression I was struggling with is something I had been struggling with for a while, like a year, probably a year and a half, a couple years. And then I was actually talking to my friend about this the other day. Whenever you're feeling like that for so long, you just get to a point where you're like, all right, well, I'm going to get help, or it's the time, to do what I tried to do, which is unfortunate for a lot of people, but that's how it is.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
During that year or year and a half, do you feel like that you had reached out to anybody, your friends or family members? Do you think they had any clue?
I mean, there's a few people I felt comfortable talking to, but for the most part, I just kept it to myself because I felt like, it doesn't benefit anyone, me talking about that type of stuff. I guess it would benefit me because, I get to talk to somebody, but at the same time, I don't like having to put that off on other people. That's just how I've always been with it.
And that has been something that I have heard from so many people who have ultimately, made the suicide attempt, that they just didn't want anybody else to have to deal with, whatever issues they were having.
Yeah.
Which, in reality, those people that love you, they would so much rather deal with whatever it is that you're dealing with and be there for you than to go to your funeral. You know that now, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. That's one thing you realize when something like that happens is that when you don't talk to anybody about it, nobody really knows what's going on with you, so they can't be there to support you and help you.
Exactly.
And after you come out of a situation like that, you realize that there are plenty of people that are there for you and that do love you and care about you. It's just something you realize when something like that happens.
You don't have to get any more personal than you want to, but I want to ask you, I mean, I know you were suffering, you were dealing with depression for a year and a half or 2 years. Can you pinpoint, is there any way for you to pinpoint, was there one thing or a few things that really kind of spiraled you to where you ended up?
Well, one of the main triggers was a couple years ago, one of my best friends died, and September 14th was actually the 2-year anniversary of him dying, and that was the thing I think that pushed me to the point of suicide, because it's never been that until there was like a 3-week period where it was just 24/7. I'd wake up and then go to sleep, and it was the whole day there was just this weight on my chest, and it physically hurt, and I got tired of dealing with it, like I said, for 3 weeks. So I just tried that. But yeah, that was the main stressor. The trigger was the 2-year anniversary of one of my best friends dying.
And I don't know how much research you've done on suicide, but that is one of the main things. Somebody who loses somebody that's close to them, or
yes, sir.
Somebody that they work with commits suicide, something like that. That is something that will trigger somebody, some people, to make that attempt.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about grief is it comes in stages. Like, I'd grief with it, and then it gets, I don't know what it was. It just comes back. It comes in stages, and it gets worse and worse almost, it seems. You know what I mean?
Right. Can I ask you how I think you have a pretty good relationship with your mom, right?
Oh, yes, sir, I do.
And what about your dad? Are your mom and dad together?
No, sir. I haven't. I've never really had a relationship with my dad. But yeah, my mom's my rock.
Okay.
She's the person I always go to.
Well, that's good. I'm grateful for her. And
Yes, sir.
it's awesome that you guys have that good of a solid relationship. And, that's one thing that I tell people is, who's somebody that you love. In your case, we could say your mom. One thing that I want people to think about when they are feeling these suicidal thoughts is, that person loves you so much, and the devastation that it would cause for them, for something to happen to you is so much worse. I mean, it's crippling to the people that you love. And
yeah, that's one thing I realized after I woke up from I was in a coma for 36 hours around there, and after I woke up from it, the first thing I saw was just the look on my mom's face, like the look of horror, and she was crying and stuff like that, and that shit really hurt me. I hated that. Oh, I'm sorry for cussing.
It's
I don't
okay.
mean to do that.
It's okay.
But yeah, that it really hurt me, and that's another point when I realized that I can't be doing stuff like that. There's people here that need me, and there's people here that I need. You know what I mean? So
absolutely, 100%. Guarantee you, there's more people that love you than you even realize. If you could think back, can you think of anything, like one question that you wish somebody would have asked you that might have made you feel differently, where maybe you would have thought, that person really does care about me prior to your attempt?
No, because I don't, I think it was, for me, it was more of an independent thing. I think it was something I needed to, but sometimes I wish, I don't know. It's hard for me because I say I wish these things, but then I never actually, talk to anybody about it. And so I don't really know how to, but.
Well, that's okay. It's just, I know that some people, I've done some research on it before, and I've heard people that have had, suicide attempts. They're like, if somebody just would have, said, hey, can I have a hug? Will you hug me? Or if somebody would have just said, hey, what's going on in your life today? What's your lowest point? Talk to me about it. I want to know how you're feeling. If somebody would have said that to them, maybe they would have felt like somebody genuinely cared about them, and they never would have attempted that suicide in the first place. Yeah.
There were definitely times like that where I didn't want to, directly come out and say something, along the lines of, hey, I'm feeling like this. I really want to, I want to kill myself. I need to talk to somebody. But there have always been times where I'd almost fish. Like I'd say stuff and want them to ask what's wrong with me so I can actually talk to them, but it not me becoming straight out and, saying stuff like that. Cause I feel like it makes, people always make these jokes like, oh, you just say that because, you just want attention. But that's why I never say stuff like that, is because I don't want to be the, this may sound bad, but, I don't want to be the depressed kid that's going around, saying.
You're not alone in that. I mean, that's why I asked you the question I was trying to get to for the listeners to be, pay attention to the people that they love, because somebody who is suicidal or having suicidal thoughts, they're not going to come out and say, hey, I'm thinking about killing myself. I need you. I mean, 99% are not going to do that. And so the people that love them,
flaunt it around like it's cool or something, because it's really not for people who actually feel like that.
Right.
And it really sucks for people who actually feel like that, for the people who make it bright, because then we feel like we can't do anything about it. And, but.
Right. And so I want the listeners that are listening to this to hear you say, I wasn't out there asking people to help me, but if somebody had shown that interest or that concern or that care for me, maybe I wouldn't have even done it. Maybe I would have, that would have prevented it. My goal here is I want the people that are listening, hearing your story, to know, hey, I got to look out for the people that I love. I need to pay attention to what's going on in their lives. And if they are having a hard time, or they withdrawn, if they are seeming depressed or having mood swings, I got to pay attention to that person, because they may be having these thoughts. They're not going to tell me that they are.
yeah, it's just something you gotta, like, when it gets to that point, you have got to say something to somebody. You know what I mean? When
Right.
it gets to that point, you feel like you can't, but when you feel like you can't, you just got to realize that you can. There are people whose jobs are to help you out of situations like that. You know, that's your mom's job, that's your doctor's job, that's your therapist's job. There are people whose job are to help you out of those situations like that, and you got to come out and speak. Nobody's gonna make fun of you or think that you're weak because of that, even though it does seem like it.
Well, man, I am so glad to hear that you are feeling better, that you've got your mom there, that you have, you made it out of this experience alive, because I can tell you that I love you.
Yes, sir.
Your mom loves you, and you're needed here, and you have so much life left ahead of you. And, you can make this life magnificent. It's all up to you to make this the best life that you can.
Thank you.
Is there any questions that you have directly for me?
No, it's just, I mean, one question I have is, like, what would I do in a situation where, I feel like I just can't talk to anybody? If I need to talk to somebody, who do I talk to? Because there are some points where I just, I'm just down in a rut, and I just don't talk to anybody because I feel like that. And sometimes my mom's not always around. She's been in and out of rehab, but she's been clean for 11 months now, and she hasn't always been around. When there's not always people to talk to, what do you do? Okay.
Do you have any other family that you are close to, or a best friend?
Yeah, I've got a few friends, but it just doesn't seem practical, because I hate rubbing off, the negativity and all that, because I know that's all it is just negativity, and I hate rubbing that off on other people.
But they're your friends. That's why they're there. I mean, you're there for your friends when they need you, right?
Yes, sir.
Your friends, I promise you, would rather talk to you about what you got going on in your life, or your feelings, the feelings that you're having, than end up going to your funeral. I promise you that. So
yes, sir.
You have to be willing to talk to your mom when she's available, or one of your best friends, and let them know that this is how I'm feeling, and let them know what your needs are. If you need a hug, ask for a hug. Tell them, I need a hug. I need, can you just listen to me for 10 minutes? Let me tell you what's going on in my mind, because I need you right now. I'm telling you, you have to know. We've already discussed that how devastating it would be to the people that love you.
Yes, sir.
If something happened to you. So to prevent that, to make sure that you stay in the right frame of mind, be willing to talk to your friends and your mom.
Yes, sir.
You can also, I'm assuming you're 17, you're still in high school. If you have a teacher or a school counselor that you are, comfortable with, that is somebody that you can talk to for sure.
Yes, sir.
I would highly recommend a school counselor.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else that you want the listeners to hear from your story, from a message that you have for the listeners?
I mean, just the main message, because in my opinion, mental illness is the number one problem in the world. And just my message is that, if you need to get help, don't feel like you can't get help, or that you can't say something to somebody, because you can and you need to.
That's a good message. I love you, buddy. And I need you here on this earth.
Thank you for letting me be on, and thank you for giving me the advice you've given me. I really appreciate you.
All right. Absolutely. Hey, I thought this was a really important topic to set the first episode leading into the holidays for other people to hear your message. And I'm so grateful for you that you were willing to come on. And I really appreciate you calling in.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Thank you.
So I thought that was a really great call with Gage. I hate to hear that he still has certain days that he's feeling a little down, but overall, I'm glad that he survived it. And I'm glad that he's got his mom there for him. And I really did think that this was going to be a good topic for it was just dumb luck that, he sent the email so quickly, and that this could be our first episode going right into the holidays. There's a lot of people that, and the time change, people they start feeling a little gloomy, a little down. Maybe their finances aren't in order, or whatever the case may be. So I'm really glad that we were able to have him on for this first episode, and kind of try to get the message out. And we're going to put the graphic up for the suicide prevention hotline for the YouTube.
Yes, sir. We'll get it up for you,
and we'll have that also in the description on the audio only. Yes,
audio only. It's going to be on audio only. It's going to be on YouTube. I agree with you, man. I think that was what a perfect time to do that. And it's my opinion on this whole situation is, as men, especially when you were younger and I was younger, since we're a little older,
right?
Like, you weren't supposed to come out. It was just a suck it up mentality.
Yeah, I agree.
And so a lot of people, like, we were taught not to talk about stuff. And that's why, and maybe he was dealing with that a little bit too. But that's why he didn't feel like he could talk to anybody, because you're a man, suck it up, pick yourself up and go, But I think we need to move past that, don't you?
But I really believe that people that are so depressed, or oftentimes it is depression that brings them to it, but it can be situational too, where a certain thing happens that just drives somebody.
Yeah, in his case, his friend.
Right. I mean, and that's very typical. I mean, it's a lot of people that do commit suicide. It's because they've lost someone that was very close to them, and they just can't seem to get past that grief.
Yeah.
But again, it is so important for the rest of us who, if you're not, somebody who is suicidal, to pay close attention to your friends and your family and their behavior. And, if they are showing signs of different behavior, or, they become withdrawn, or, you see anything fishy with them, you need to be able to reach out to them and talk to them and draw it out of them. If they are feeling suicidal, they're not going to volunteer that information to you 9 times out of 10 unless you draw it out of them.
Yeah, I know. And like with me, I'm prior law enforcement. I have 10 years in law enforcement, and there's 2 issues I'm dealing with. It's one of the highest suicide rates in the career field. And then it's also, if you're feeling suicidal, here's the problem in law enforcement. If you're feeling suicidal, if you do talk to anybody about it, you're going to lose your badge, you're going to lose your career.
Right.
And secondly, they're going to tell you that you're weak and that you're a weakling, and that you're just get over it. If you don't lose your career, if you're talking to one of your buddies, just get over it type of thing. You know what I mean? And it's just, when I see it, I have a couple friends that I'm extremely concerned about, but I don't know what to do except for to show them I love them and that they are valuable in my life.
And I've heard other people say that they saw signs of somebody who they felt like was suicidal, but they didn't know what to do. So they withdrew, kind of like waiting for them to be better, and then they would come back around.
Yeah.
And that's just not you can't do that, because they're not going to get better. They're not going to just magically get better. They need you. They need you in their life. They need you to be there for them. If they're feeling suicidal, they need to know that they care, or that you care, that they matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with that, because if you just withdraw, it's kind of like, it's also, you're probably kind of withdrawing because you want to, you don't want it to hurt as bad for you, because it's hard on you. But that's what friends are for. It's going to be hard on you sometimes.
That's right.
And you've got to take the brunt of that. So
I'd rather take a couple of hours to spend with somebody and you listen to them, or hold them, or you just be there for them, than, have to dress up and go to the funeral.
Yeah.
100%. And if you're feeling suicidal, the people that love you feel the same way. They'll spend the time with you. They'll listen to you. They care about you. They love you. They don't want to go to your funeral. So I love you. I'm telling you right now, I don't care who you are. I love you.
Yeah, that's why whenever we met each other for this show, and I know I'm going to say this 1,000 times before, I mean, everybody's going to get sick of me saying this, and I've told you this 1,000 times, but what makes this work and what makes me believe in you is you mean what you're saying. When you told Gage that you loved him on the phone right there, you meant that.
100%.
Whenever
absolutely.
you tell the people on here that you love them, you mean that. You genuinely care. I see you're always doing TikToks outside of my house, like outside of the studio. You know,
Right.
I mean, you I can tell you get uptight when somebody's going through something and you need to help them, and you need to help them right then, you know, and I see you stressing about it. That's why I genuinely believe you're providing a service, and this podcast is going to bring tremendous value to people.
I pray that it does.
So I can't wait till I have something going on that I can ask you, dude. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I don't have anything going on that I need to ask you about, but
Right.
because my life's perfect. You know?
I get messages sometimes that they're like, I finally have something I can ask your advice on. I've been watching you forever, but had nothing to say. Now I do.
People such a huge fan of you. They're like, I cannot wait till my life crashes down around me so I can talk to the straight shooter. That's awesome, dude. I feel the same way though. I can't wait. Maybe I should go like get in a fight with my wife real quick. Actually, hold on. I'll be right back. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, well that's it. It's been a great show. I really appreciate Gage for coming on and talking to us. Look forward to next week's show. We're going to have a show every Wednesday, and you know, sometimes it's going to be on relationships, sometimes it's going to be on parent-child relationships, whatever real life stuff that's going on. That's what we're going to be talking about. And you may not always like what I have to say, but I'm always going to shoot you straight.
You have been listening to The Straight Shooter Show. Come back every Wednesday for new episodes.